Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. This is your host, Anton Batey. Today's date is February the 20th, 2011. Today I have with me a very special guest. I have with me the Associate Pastor of Landover Baptist Church for almost 50 years, Pastor Brother Harry Hardwick. Now, Pastor Hardwick is known as the Bible Answer Man because of his extensive knowledge regarding the Bible. He's also known for his passionate fire and brimstone sermons. Pastor Harry Hardwick, thank you for appearing with me.
It's my pleasure, Anton. I'm always happy to appear anywhere and spread the good news of our Lord to even the most depraved individuals.
Well, thank you. The first question I have, you are the pastor of Landover Baptist Church. For those who don't know, tell us just a little bit about Landover Church. It's in Freehold, Iowa, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I'm surprised anyone hasn't heard of Landover Baptist Church. It's God's favorite church and the largest church in North America. It is in Freehold, Iowa. I'm not able to go in at liberty to the number of employees or quite an amount of tithing that we have, but I can tell you that we make that Osteen church look like just a small old Caddyshack.
Wow. The first question I have, if you don't mind, about politics, about what's going on in Egypt right now. What's the Landover's position about that?
We've been celebrating the bloodshed for weeks. Isn't it wonderful that the towelheads are killing each other instead of us? And the violence is spreading throughout the Middle East faster than the flu in a swarm of Orientals. Pretty soon, it won't just involve the Sand Negroes. Those dreidel-spinning Christ killers will soon want in on the act. After all, those people panic if someone drops a nickel down the drain. They'll soon overreact and start engaging in, what do they call that indiscriminate bombing they do, and then the whole place will go up in smoke. And that's when the real Christian celebration will begin. You see, Luke tells us in chapter 21, verses 20 through 24, that the second coming will happen when Judea, that's Israel, is surrounded by armies and desolation is just about to occur. Haven't you wondered why evangelical Christian leaders are so supportive of Israel?
Yes.
It's because the Bible tells us that Jesus won't return unless and until Israel is about to be annihilated. Only then will Jesus come back and torture and kill the remaining folks after he has whisked true Christians all up to heaven. So we have to keep Israel intact until the time a great war will wipe out the whole region's population. And it looks like that time is finally coming. Praise Jesus.
It's interesting. Another thing that happened a couple months ago, I'm not sure if you remember, is there was a pastor in Florida who was going to hold a Burn a Quran Day. What was Landover's opinion about that pastor and that day?
What a half-assed holiday. Why stop at one book? Burn all of them. You only need a KJV, King James Version, 1611 Holy Bible. And if you're going to start burning things to show your disapproval of heathens, why stop with the Muslim maniacs? Burn Buddha dolls that have feet where their hands should be. Burn the diaper Gandhi used to wear. Burn anything featuring an apparition of the Virgin Mary, even grilled cheese sandwiches. Burn the Pope's red Prada shoes. I am all for fire, something God used so effectively to send a message to the people of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Has Landover ever partaken in any book burnings or anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we still have our monthly Harry Potter book burnings on the east lawn by the main chapel. Have been having them for years now.
Harry Potter?
Well, we can't. We can't let somebody promoting witches have a better marketing style than Christianity. And it's very important for us to squelch that before it gets too popular.
Speaking of witches, what does the Bible say about witches?
Well, they're to be put to death. Frankly, if we had stuck with the Bible and kept the Puritans of Salem in power, we wouldn't be going through all this mess we're going through with communism and Barack Hussein Obama at all. No, the Bible makes very clear that witches and anyone who practice a different religion than our particular one must be executed. Now, we don't do that today because of all these secular laws and the fact that we live pretty good lives, pretty high standards of living, and nobody wants to spend it in the penitentiary next to some big black guy who keeps saying he wants to put his wood on you. None of us want to go through that, so we don't follow our Bible all the way through like those Muslims.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Speaking of President Obama, what does Landover think about, what do you think about the election of President Barack Obama?
Well, it's a travesty, of course. It is an utter and absolute travesty that we have a colored feller now running the White House instead of cleaning it. You know, and frankly, everything that they predicted about Obama has come true. Ever since the day that he opened his way into the White House, he has set apart an agenda that favors the people who don't do any work, that sit on their rear ends, popping out babies, collecting welfare checks, and eating bonbons while they watch Oprah. And he has let this country go to hell and a handbasket, which, of course, we all knew was going to happen.
Keeping it on politics and policy, about homosexuality, I know you said in previous interviews you don't like talking about it, so I hope you don't mind me asking you this question.
Briefly, very briefly.
Okay, okay. Do you think that people are born gay, or do you think it's a choice?
Oh, it's a choice. Made as casually as choosing what shoes match the shirt you're going to wear or what throw pillows match a sofa. It's a hobby, like collecting stamps. The problem is, once they start, they find they really like licking stamps, and they forget to wake up the next morning and decide to be straight again, or Asian. Landover's leading lady, the lovely Betty Bowers, known as America's best Christian, created the popular ex-gay ministry, Baptists Are Saving Homosexuals, BASH. During its decade of existence, BASH has saved tens of homosexuals from the pastime of homosexuality. You see, when people have characteristics the majority of us don't have, or do things the majority of us don't do, it is by choice. And they need to practice conformity and become an homogeneous Christian so they don't wind up frying in the lake of fire for eternity later on.
There's certain people in the scientific community that say that homosexuality is genetic. Speaking of science, what do you think? Are there any examples of where the Bible and science conflict with one another, and which one is right?
Well, they conflict on almost everything, and the Bible is always right. Scientists, let me just give you a few examples, because I've been asked this question before. Scientists say that clouds are caused by condensation of water vapor into the atmosphere, when it says right in Nahum chapter 1, verse 3, that clouds are the dust from God's feet. Scientists say that stars, those little tiny dots of light in the sky at night, are really giant, even bigger than the earth. They probably also think peas are boulders. Well, the Bible puts that nonsense to rest. Revelation 6:13 says that come Judgment Day, all the stars will fall onto the earth like figs from a fig tree. Scientists say the earth is round, when multiple places in the Bible make clear that the earth is flat. Satan took Jesus to the top of a mountain where they could both see the four corners of the earth. So the earth is flat, clouds are God's grime, and stars are about as big as fireflies. But I have to tell you that one of the most difficult fallacies of science for our church concerns circles. Second Chronicles 4:2 tells us that Solomon made a circular metal bowl that was 10 cubits in diameter and 30 cubits in circumference. That means that pi, diameter divided, or circumference divided by diameter, equals 3. But the scientists, who all the product manufacturers have been relying on rather than the Bible, have been making circles. where pi equals 3.1415925. Well, we had to ban secular circles at Landover. It's been tough. Our basketball and baseball teams haven't done very well lately, practicing with the pi equals 3 balls, but the Lord told us we would have to make deep sacrifices in His name.
Brother Harry, I was listening to Pastor Deacon Fred, and he said, you mentioned about the earth being flat, according to what the Bible says, and I heard Pastor Deacon Fred say that the pictures that we see are from secular government's rocket ships. What do you make of the pictures people have of a round Earth in a sphere?
Well, I think that's true. There was a wonderful documentary on back in the 1970s called Capricorn 1 or Capricorn 2 about how the whole NASA space program was all done on a Hollywood sound stage, and that really there's never been any rocket that's gone. You got to remember, when the humans tried to reach heaven once before, when they tried to build a building called the Tower of Babel, God put a stop to it real quick. And He destroyed that building, gave everybody different languages, which is why we have to deal with that annoying Chinese, and then spread people all over the world so they couldn't ever get together and try to reach heaven. Now, if He did all that, do you think He'd let us send some rocket ship up there further than that building could reach?
That's an interesting point. I never thought about that. Regarding other religions, what's Landover churches? What's your view about Mormonism?
The Mormons are the worst. After all, they believe that a prophet came along thousands of years after creation and started saving people. Can you imagine?
If Mitt Romney, the former governor of Massachusetts, he may be running, and a lot of people think that he might get the Republican nomination. He is a Mormon. What do you think of Mitt Romney?
Well, we can't have a Mormon in the White House because, for goodness sake, so we might have one wife on the campaign trail and then another wife at the inauguration, then another one in the White House. We just can't have that. Plus,
Right.
We got to know that our president is wearing sturdy boxer shorts and not all that magic underwear. We just can't have that kind of mess in the White House.
Yeah, is that really true? Is it true that Mormons really have magical underwear?
Well, Anton, I have to be honest with you. I've not been in a situation where I've ever actually seen a Mormon in underwear. But my understanding is that they wear different versions of it depending upon how long they get in the competition. Someone told me the other day, I don't know whether this is true, I haven't seen it, but that the whole religion sounds a lot like RuPaul's Drag Race.
There's something I read at the website, landoverbaptist.org.
That's right. We have a website, by the way, at landoverbaptist.org. One of our main members, Mrs. Betty Bowers, has a website at BettyBowers.com. And by the way, you can type in landoverbaptist.org or .com. Either one is fine.
Oh, okay.
And I want everybody that's listening to know that each one of us has our own presence on Facebook. You can become a friend or a fan. Just look up Pastor Deacon Fred or Betty Bowers or Harry Hardwick, and we'd love to have you join us.
Oh, good. Okay. There was an article I read on there, and it said that Landover Baptist Church doesn't really celebrate birthdays, but you celebrate the date of conception. Is that true, or did I read that wrong?
It's absolutely true. I am very disappointed in my fellow fundamentalists. We are rabid about abortion. There is no greater sin. We've never been particularly concerned about conscious suffering poor children, croaking of starvation and untreated disease, especially if they're from the depraved third world. But we won't stand for the abortion of wet, amorphous blobs of American tissue. We'll pass all sorts of laws to protect the fetus while it's in the womb. Of course, once it pops out, it's on its own. But I digress. Our view that abortion is second only to being a damned homo on the totem pole of sins is based on our belief that life begins at conception. That is why we began our You're Older Than You Think campaign 10 years ago. Godly President George W. Bush was initially thrilled with it, particularly